Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Before I start today's story, I want to ask you something. Do you believe in curses? Most people say no. Most people say curses are not real. They say curses are just old stories, just imagination. But then something happens, something that cannot be explained, and suddenly, people are not so sure. Today's story is about a curse that is more than 3,000 years old, a curse that has frightened people for 100 years, and a curse that scientists still cannot fully explain. But this is also a story about a boy, a very young boy, a boy who became the most powerful person in the world, a boy who died before he was 20 years old, and a boy whose secrets are still hidden today. His name was Tutankhamun, and his story will stay with you long after this video ends. If you enjoy learning English through stories like this, please subscribe to Timeless English. Every week we bring you a new story from history in slow, clear, simple English, just for you. Let us go back, far back, more than 3,300 years ago, to the land of Egypt. Egypt was one of the greatest civilizations in human history. It had massive temples. It had enormous statues. It had rivers full of life. And it had pharaohs. Pharaohs were the kings of Egypt. But they were not just kings. The Egyptian people believed pharaohs were gods, living gods, walking on the earth. When a pharaoh spoke, everyone listened. When a pharaoh commanded, everyone obeyed. The pharaoh controlled everything: the land, the people, the religion, the army, everything. And into this world, a small boy was born. His name at birth was Tutankhamun. He was born around the year 1341 BC. His father was the pharaoh Akhenaten. Akhenaten was a very unusual pharaoh. He changed the religion of Egypt completely. For thousands of years, Egypt had many gods, but Akhenaten said no. He said there is only one God, the sun god, Aten. This was shocking. The priests were angry. The people were confused. Egypt was in chaos. And then Akhenaten died, and his young son was left alone. Tutankhamun was only 8 or 9 years old, maybe even younger. Nobody knows exactly. But he was just a child, a small child, in a palace full of powerful adults, full of priests who were angry, full of advisors who wanted control, full of generals who wanted power. Imagine that. You are 9 years old, and suddenly you are the most powerful person in the world. Every person around you wants something from you. Every person around you is trying to use you. What do you do? This was the life of young Tutankhamun. He did not choose this life. It was given to him. One of the first things that happened was his name. His advisors changed it from Tutankhaten, which honored the sun god Aten, to Tutankhamun, which honored the old god Amun. This was important. His advisors were taking Egypt back to the old religion, back to the many gods, back to the old ways. And the young boy king was their symbol, their tool, their puppet. But who was Tutankhamun really? What was he like? Scientists have studied his body very carefully, and they have found something surprising. Tutankhamun was not a strong and healthy king. He was actually quite weak. He had a club foot. This means one of his feet did not form correctly. He could not walk well without help. Scientists found more than 100 walking sticks in his tomb. 100 walking sticks for a young boy. He also had malaria multiple times, and he had broken bones that never healed properly. His life was not comfortable. His life was actually painful. And yet, he was Pharaoh, the living god of Egypt. Imagine carrying that weight when you can barely walk, when your body hurts every day, and every person around you expects you to be a god. Despite everything, Tutankhamun tried to rule. He restored the old temples. He brought back the old gods. He tried to heal the damage his father had caused. He listened to his advisors. He performed the religious ceremonies. He was a boy trying very hard to be a king. And then, at around 19 years old, he died. Suddenly, without warning. Nobody knows exactly why. This is one of the greatest mysteries in history. Some scientists say he died from malaria. His body showed signs of the disease. Some scientists say he had a serious infection in his leg, a broken bone that became infected. Some scientists say something more dangerous. They say he was murdered. Murdered by the powerful men around him, the advisors who controlled him, the generals who wanted more power. One general in particular. His name was Horemheb. After Tutankhamun died, Horemheb eventually became Pharaoh himself. Was this a coincidence? Or something darker? Nobody knows. And that is what makes this story so powerful. Even today, with all our science and technology, we cannot answer this question. A boy died 3,300 years ago, and we still do not know why. After Tutankhamun died, something else happened. Something that makes this story even stranger. The people who came after him tried to erase him. They removed his name from temples. They removed his image from walls. They destroyed his statues. They wanted history to forget him. And for more than 3,000 years, it worked. Tutankhamun disappeared from history. No one remembered him. No one talked about him. He was completely forgotten. Until one man refused to give up. His name was Howard Carter. Howard Carter was a British archaeologist. An archaeologist is a scientist who studies ancient things, who digs into the ground looking for the past. Howard Carter believed that Tutankhamun's tomb was still hidden somewhere in a place called the Valley of the Kings. The Valley of the Kings is a dry, hot, rocky valley in Egypt. For hundreds of years, archaeologists had been digging there. They had found many tombs, many pharaohs, but not Tutankhamun. Most scientists said his tomb was gone, destroyed, lost forever. But Howard Carter did not believe this. He searched for years, 5 years, 6 years. People called him foolish. They said he was wasting time and money. They said the tomb did not exist. But Howard Carter kept digging. He kept believing. And then, on November 4th, 1922, something happened. One of his workers found a stone step. Just one step, hidden under the sand. Carter's heart jumped. He ordered his team to dig carefully. Slowly, they uncovered more steps. 12 steps going down into the earth. At the bottom of the steps was a door, a sealed door, a door that had not been opened for more than 3,000 years. Howard Carter stopped. He sent a telegram to his sponsor, Lord Carnarvon in England. He said, "Come immediately. I have found something wonderful." Lord Carnarvon arrived from England. Together they stood at the sealed door. He pushed a candle through the hole. He looked inside. At first he could see nothing. The air coming out was hot and strange. Ancient air. Air that no human had breathed for 3,000 years. Then slowly his eyes adjusted to the darkness, and he saw them. Gold everywhere. Statues covered in gold. Furniture covered in gold. Boxes, jars, chariots, thrones, all covered in gold. Stood behind him, he said nervously, "Can you see anything?" Howard Carter could barely speak. He said quietly, "Yes, wonderful things." It was one of the greatest moments in the history of archaeology. The tomb of Tutankhamun had been found, completely untouched, completely intact, exactly as it was 3,000 years ago. But now the story takes a dark turn, because written above the entrance to the tomb were words, ancient Egyptian words, words that said, "Death will come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king." A curse. The curse of the Pharaoh. Most people laughed at this. They said it was just an old warning, just words to frighten thieves, nothing more. Howard Carter himself did not believe in curses. He was a scientist. He believed in facts. So they opened the tomb, and strange things began to happen. First, Howard Carter had a pet canary, a small yellow bird that he loved. On the same day the tomb was opened, a cobra entered Carter's house and swallowed the canary whole. The cobra, the symbol of the Egyptian pharaoh, the symbol found on every royal crown. People whispered. They said the pharaoh had sent a warning. Carter ignored it. Then Lord Carnarvon was bitten by a mosquito, a small bite. He cut it while shaving. The cut became infected. Within weeks, Lord Carnarvon became very sick. He developed a high fever. He lost consciousness. And on April 5th, 1923, just 5 months after the tomb was opened, Lord Carnarvon died. He was 57 years old. The newspapers went wild. The curse of the pharaoh, they said. The first victim. And then more people connected to the tomb began to die. George J. Gould, an American millionaire who visited the tomb, died of fever shortly after. Arthur Mace, one of the archaeologists who helped open the tomb, died of mysterious exhaustion. An Egyptian prince who helped with the project died suddenly. A radiologist who x-rayed the mummy died shortly after. One by one, people connected to the tomb, people who had disturbed the peace of the boy king. They were dying. Now scientists have explanations. They say the tomb contained ancient bacteria, bacteria that had been sealed inside for 3,000 years, bacteria that could cause serious illness in people who breathed the air. This is probably true. Science can explain some of these deaths, but not all of them. And Howard Carter himself? The man who opened the tomb? The man who first breathed that ancient air? He lived until 1939, 17 years after opening the tomb. He died peacefully at the age of 64. The curse ignored the man who found the tomb. Strange. Very strange. Inside the tomb, there were more than 5,000 objects. 5,000 objects, all belonging to one young boy. Gold sandals for his feet, gold masks for his face, chariots for his journey, food and wine for his next life, board games to keep him entertained, even a lock of his grandmother's hair, placed there with love by someone who remembered him, someone who cared. In that small detail, a lock of hair from someone who loved him, we see something very human. Beyond all the gold and the mystery and the curse, there was a boy, a real boy, who had a grandmother who loved him, who kept something small and personal for him, for his journey into the next world. Today, Tutankhamun is the most famous pharaoh in history, not because he was the greatest, not because he won great battles, not because he changed the world, but because he was forgotten and then found again, because his tomb survived when all others were destroyed, because his story, a young boy, a powerful throne, a mysterious death, and a curse that frightened the world, is a story that people cannot stop thinking about. He was just a boy, a sick, lonely boy, surrounded by powerful adults, trying to be a king, trying to be a god, when really he was just a child. And what can we learn from Tutankhamun? We learn that power does not mean happiness. We learn that being forgotten does not mean you are not important. We learn that one small step, like that stone step found under the sand in 1922, can change everything. And we learn something else, something about our own journey. When Howard Carter searched for that tomb, people told him to stop. They said it was impossible. They said he was wasting his time. But he believed in something he could not yet see. He kept going, and he found something wonderful. When you learn English, sometimes it feels like digging in the sand. You search and nothing seems to happen. But one day, you find a step, one word you understand, one sentence that becomes clear, one story that you follow from beginning to end, and suddenly you know you are getting there. Keep digging, my friends. Something wonderful is waiting for you. Thank you for listening to this story today. I hope it stayed with you. I hope it gave you something to think about. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a like. And if you want more stories like this every week, please subscribe to Timeless English. Until next time, my friends, keep learning, keep listening, and keep enjoying the beautiful journey of English.